And good morning, everyone. This is Grant from State of the Spark. Super pumped. Sorry about that. My screen bopped off there. How are you doing today? It's Friday. I'm super pumped for today's show because we get to explore stupidity and what makes people make stupid decisions. We're going to cover that today. We're also going to cover the one time I made a stupid decision and ended up drowning in the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to cover that. Yes, it happened. I did lack oxygen for a little while. We've also got other news, some fun stuff about the Sistine Chapel and the multiple names of the moon and other fun stuff that we're going to be doing here with the show coming up in about a week or so. But before all of that, we, of course, are going to be doing a cup of gratitude. Let's get into it. Here we go. So I hope you guys are doing phenomenal. I'm doing phenomenal. I hope you've had a good week. I hope you've had a productive week. And I hope that you do not love this TGIF bunk. I don't buy it. TGIF is for people that don't like what they do. Now, usually. Okay, come on. Let's be fair, Grant. Sometimes we just get busy and we actually just want a nice little break. I get you. I feel you. Yeah, we could use a break. For Saturday, I'm cleaning off my desk. If I could show you my camera to clean off my desk, it needs a little love. So here's what we're going to do. Cup of gratitude. What I'm grateful for this morning is team. You know, team stands for together. Everyone achieves more. And the study's coming back more and more often, even if you are an introvert. Critical to your success, whether you like a million people like I do or just a few people, it doesn't matter. Every type of personality needs team, and you need a team. And so some team highlights I just want to share with you very quickly. Adam moved into to the office. You know, he's had several offices around town, and he's reconfiguring his setup, and he moved to the office. And I love having another warm body in here. It keeps me on my toes, and it ensures that I'm staying productive. So I love that fact. Marissa says, yay for clean desks. Marissa, if I could show you, I'm going to put a photo of Marissa's desk and my desk, or we're just going to put them side by side. We're going to let you guess whose desk is which. We're going to let you guess. There's Marissa's little bot there. We're going to let you guess whose desk you're looking at when you see the photo. So I'll do a photo of that. But yes, Adam moved into the office, and I love this. I love this not just because Adam is a powerhouse and he's just a bundle of energy when he's here, and it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me active. But I also actively remember who I'm doing this for. I'm not just doing it for you lovely Spark citizens. I'm doing what I do for the team. And I was working on the Top 100 Dream Igniter new edition coming out. And I was working on that and just remembering I do this for these people. And so that was awesome. We're going to call this office the C-suite now because it's basically the managers of Spark, or the C-suite of Spark is kind of in this office now. We miss Brittany though. Good morning, Dory. I hope you are phenomenal. Dory's just dropping by to say, hey, good morning. I also want to thank, in terms of team, James Joseph, Dory's lovely husband. And according to Dory, the sexiest man on the planet. I tend to agree. James just called out of the blue. He knew we were back in town. Yesterday was our first day back in town from our big trip. And James just reached out. Again, I'm grateful for team. Just that act of reaching out and buzzing me is huge. So big props to your husband, Dory. And then Marissa, part of team. You know, I don't talk about Marissa much because I feel bad about bringing too much attention to her because she is an introvert, but she needs props. She put together my hero's journey of a hike that I covered in yesterday's show. That was a super challenge. That makes her a superhero because she did it super easily. But also all day yesterday, she organized our goals. She knew I was feeling frazzled and stretched all over the place. Dory says she's at the Lakeland Police Department already. Dory, did you get arrested again for being too awesome? I think so. It's probably what you're doing. But yeah, Marissa organized our top goals and put them on the board here. I need to see goals physically. I've got them all in my phone, but I need to see them to be reminded of them. So she posted those there. And then once she organized all of our goals, she went over into the Spark Explore website and spent the day working on this awesome Spark Explorer website. If you have not seen the Spark Explorer website, check it out. That is Marissa's baby. It's her brainchild. The content, she covers her trips. The content is phenomenal, but the design is also sick. So check that out. So here's to team constantly raising the bar. And I just hope I do my part in this little corner of the Spark world, encouraging, informing, educating, reaching out to people. I'm just hoping I keep up with these awesome people. So here's to team. And I want to hear from you in the comments. If you're one of these 5 or 6 people or whoever's on the show right now, if you're watching this later, I want to hear who you consider team. Dory says she's bringing breakfast to the whole department. And then Brian Stevens says, check out the lean concept of 5S. Apply it to your desk and the rest of your life, and everything changes. He uses it in his virtual space. Here, let's just see if we can't get this here. He uses it in his virtual space. Check out the lean concept of 5S. Apply it to your desk and the rest of your life, and everything changes. And it has made me a more efficient and effective manager and operator. That's from Brian Stevens. Thank you, sir. And and it's in the book Lean Startup, right? Is it in the book Lean Startup, Brian? If you could give another reference here. I have the Lean Startup here somewhere, and we could revisit that as just a really cool concept. So we'll act on that. So good morning, Brian. Good morning, Dory. And then Dory, I skipped over this. Dory's bringing breakfast to the whole police department. She does that. She loves the people in blue, and she's been a huge supporter of theirs for a long time. So listen to that. That's team. Dory's a team member with the Lakeland Police Department this morning. And Brian, thank you for being the show's team this morning with adding 5S. Here's to you guys, my cup of gratitude. Ba-da-da. So what's going on in other news? So in other news, Brian Stevens says, I have not read that book, but likely so. We'll check that book out, Brian. We'll figure out where to find the 5S concept. So in other news, the Sistine Chapel is coming to you. If you happen to be in the St. Louis area in other news, love art news, has nothing to do with the COVID funk, has nothing to do with the political funk, has nothing to do with the economics funk. It's just beautiful other news. And in this piece of other news, the Sistine Chapel is coming to you in St. Louis. I'm going to drop this link here for you. If you happen to be, Adam says, team, office mates, and my online bookkeeping Facebook group mates. Yes, sir. And then Adam was taking advantage of being in the office and was like, hey, can we do something about the website? So there's also office website mates. So definitely, Adam. Dory says she'll read that book. So the Sistine Chapel is coming to St. Louis. How does this work? Well, you know that Italy has off and on gone through whether or not you can get access and fly to Italy. We don't know, especially being an American from the U.S., if they're going to let us in, if it's going to be any fun. But there's going to be a Sistine Chapel exhibition where they take projectors and project it really large so you get a true sense of the majestic nature of these high-resolution images of the Sistine Chapel. You can see a thumbnail of it there in the comments of the live, that it's gorgeous. And it's probably worth a trip. It's going to be in St. Louis from November to January, this exhibition. I have to see if they're good, if it's a roving exhibition, if it's going to appear elsewhere, because, hey, Marissa, no, we should check this out. It would be a super fun reason to go visit a full St. Louis or a town like that to check out the exhibition. Now, in other news, number 2, and I love this one. This one cracks me up. Well, first off, the title is The Rare Full Moon on Halloween Will Be Seen from the U.S. for the first time in 76 years. This full moon will be happening on Halloween. Check this out. So, let me put this article up too. So what I'd like to actually point out about this, Dory says, let's do it. Boom. What I'd like to point out about this full moon is that the article, can you guess how many times the article used the word spooktacular? So I'm sure that that's a phrase that you can only use this time of year. So of course I read this article, and in the first sentence it used the phrase spooktacular. What I love about this article is this. This is a rare full moon that is occurring on Halloween. And roughly this type of full moon, it becomes full. It basically rotates and becomes full roughly at sunset. And then the full moon ends roughly at sunrise. That's something unique about it. But here's what we got. The 4 names of this full moon. Me and Marissa have been joking about this. Is it an orange moon? Is it a harvest moon? Is it a whatever moon? It's a super moon. What's the name of this stinking moon? Well, it's got 4 names, and the last one's my favorite. Are you ready for the 4 names? Are you ready for the 4 names of this moon? I'll give you just a quick second to think about that. I am too. Let's do this. Number 1, it is known as a micromoon. That means it's the furthest from Earth in its orbit of Earth. So on average, the moon orbits the Earth on average about 239,000 miles from the Earth. In a micromoon, it's about 30,000 miles further. So that's name 1. Name 2, it is a hunter's moon. And it is a hunter's moon because it's the second full moon of October. So it's the second full moon of October. The third name of this moon. So we got micro moon and hunter's moon. The third name of this particular moon, it's the blue moon. And I didn't know this, but the blue moon is the only double full moon event of 2020. Now, I still need to figure out, is the double full moon mean it's double within a single month or double within a single season? I believe it's double within a single cycle, a single season in particular, which leads me to the 4th name of the moon. Lisa Welsh says, micro moon, bing. So the 4th name is obviously my favorite name, and it is the beaver moon. And it is known as the beaver moon, according to NASA. This is not according to Grant or some wonky group. This is according to NASA. It's the beaver moon because it's the second full moon of autumn. So there you have it, the 4 names of the moon. The moon can have multiple names at once: micro moon, hunter's moon, blue moon, beaver moon. It can have all of those names at one time. You've got the link there that you can actually, if you're a nerd like I am about all things orbitals of the Earth, then you can have access to that. So that is the second piece of other news. And here we go. Marissa gives me triple emoji tears. Marissa's giving me triple emoji tears, and I love it. So I'm just going to share that for a quick second, and we'll come back to my other thing in a second. So the last piece of other news, actually, I need to share this other news. Here we go. Starting in about a week, we're going to start doing these lives on the State of the Spark Facebook page. There's the link right there. I think it's right there. Yep, there's the link right there. We're going to start doing the lives like this on the State of the Spark business page. I want you to go to the link over here, facebook.com/State of the Spark, or just Google it. The show is moving there. Like or follow the page to make sure you get notified. Like or follow the page to make sure you get notified. The tagging is different. I can't tag all of you lovely people like I would. And the reason I'm telling you this is for comments and interaction. I know that we banter. It's fun bantering with you lovely people. I like seeing your comments. I like liking the micromoon comment from Lisa Welsh. Brock's comments are always educational. Brian Stevens educating us about the 5S. I don't want that to go away. And so I'd love your comments. So make sure you jump over to facebook.com/State of the Spark. Like or follow the page and watch for the feed coming up over there. And we're going to build up our relationships over there. We're going to build it up on our feed over there. So you start seeing that thing percolate. Now, if that's like a bust and we find out you guys don't like it and Facebook feed, the algorithm isn't populating it, we might come back here to my personal page. But we want to move over there because there's a lot of other tools that we can use to make these lives more interactive and more fun over on that page. So definitely check out facebook.com/State of the Spark and like it. And can I just put that link there? You know what, Marissa, if you're watching, Lovey, if you get a second, go ahead and move the feed over there. Dory says, wonderful. Dory, you're wonderful. So that's my third piece of other news. Here we go. So I wanted to talk about stupidity today. Can I talk about stupidity today? It's Friday. It's Fun with Thinking Friday. And guess what? I call it Fun with Thinking Friday, but nearly every show has to do with thinking. Have you noticed that? It has to do with thinking better. Why do I do that? Part of the mission of State of the Spark is to ignite lives of explosive significance. Thanks for the like, Vesna. I hope you're doing fantastic this morning. Igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own, is the mission of State of the Spark. Why is that? There's people that are hurting out there. And I said this to Marissa yesterday, we've really got to reconnect that it's not just about being better. It's not just about small business. It isn't. State of the Spark isn't just about small business. We talk a lot about small business and entrepreneurship because I believe, hear me on this, you can quote me on this, the economic system of those who seek freedom is entrepreneurship. It's just the default economic system. So we talk a lot about small business because I assume you want to do more for other people. I assume you want to do more for your family. I assume you want to do more for, as Dory is this morning at the Lakeland Police Department, Homes for Heroes and Dory Joseph are funding breakfast for the police department. She loves giving back. Do you love giving back? Me and Marissa, we moved to the Dominican Republic. We worked in Haiti because we love giving back. State of the Spark is a company built to give back. We do this, and our mission is igniting lives of explosive significance. People are suffering from depression. Sheila Hollowell was in the hospital. I don't know if she wants to make that public, but she should get a visitor. Someone should visit her in the hospital. Igniting lives of explosive significance, letting people know that they're not alone. Sparking vision, igniting success, exploding significance, and radiating purpose. So you bet we talk about better thinking. You bet we talk about eating nutritionally, fitness and health, healthy, happy relationships, work we enjoy, and spirituality. You bet. Why? Because it will make you better to help ignite lives, to help other people. And the more we can accelerate the help, the more we can accelerate supporting other people, the better the species is going to be. So we're going to talk today, at least jestfully, about making stupid decisions. So one stupid decision I made was when I was about 18, I moved to, between 18 and 19, I moved from my hometown of Vero Beach to Sarasota. I moved from Sarasota to Orlando, and I was driving back and forth from Orlando to Vero Beach. Why? Because I was definitely homesick. I wasn't made for the big city, but I was trying to make it in acting. I had a job, and I worked at that job from like 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I was at the gym for like 3 hours, and then I'd go network and try to schmooze and get into the acting scene. And then I had acting classes at night. I'd go party till like 2 a.m., and then I'd wake up 3 hours later and go to the beach. And of course, I was burning out. Hello. So I moved back to Vero Beach, Florida, and I would drive up and down the coast, and then a hurricane was making its way to Florida. And this hurricane was coming through. And of course, as every good Floridian knows, storm swells are when the surf is. And I grew up surfing. So on one of my trips from Vero to Orlando, I pulled over in Cocoa Beach and I saw these huge walls of surf coming through. It was gorgeous. It was all clean rights. The wind was blowing offshore. The storm had already passed. There was a big old ship that had been shipwrecked just down the way. But where we were at, there was these huge white squalls just coming in, huge waves, nice and clean. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is what it's all about. And I sat there scared. Now, if you know anything about a storm swell, the water's all foamy, it's choppy, you don't know what's under there because a hurricane just blew through and it could have changed everything that's under the water, and the waves were big. And here I am at 18, 19, I'm an adult for all intents and purposes, and I'm standing there scared, absolutely petrified. I see these surfers out there, and they're the real deal, and I want to seem like the real deal. I want to seem like the real deal out there, because I'm an adult and I'm coming into my own and I'm somebody and I follow adventure and I do all this. And this was getting in my head, but I was scared. I was scared I wasn't up to the challenge. Well, of course, you got to step up. You're an 18-year-old male. You're holding a surfboard on the beach. You don't want to be seen as the person who's still dry. Turn around, go back to the car, pack up their surfboard and drive away. I came all this way and I had this internal mental dialogue. You're not that type of guy to wuss out, are you? You're not the type of guy to step up and quit, are you? And in my head, I'm like, well, I'm petrified and I don't think I could. It's heavy surf. I don't think I'm up. I don't think I'm fit. I don't think I could hold my breath well enough. I don't think I can paddle strong enough. But my brain was like, come on now. You don't want to look stupid. Now, I tell you this story. Adam mentioned me in a comment somewhere. I tell you this story because one of the reasons we make stupid decisions we're going to feature and come back to the story because it affects why we make stupid decisions. I won't give away one of the 4 reasons we make stupid decisions, but I'll tell you this. I made the decision to paddle out because I'm the type of person who does adventurous things. I wanted to be the type of person that always said yes to things that scared them. Now, that's a great principle, but it sometimes can get you into trouble, right? Napoleon Bonaparte said, you know what, I'm just going to take Russia, right? Like, I mean, we make stupid decisions even if we are awesome. So I went ahead, got on my surfboard, which was, mind you, a little too short. You can have a board that's too short when the waves are just a bit big. So I paddled out and it was foamy. And I don't know if you know this, but it was choppy. I don't know if you are familiar with storm surf, but I was paddling out, and as I breathed in, I paddled over a wave, and wind blew this foam right into my, and I breathed like surf foam into my mouth, which is salt water, and went into my nasal cavity and started burning. So I'm already hacking and coughing, and this big swell comes in of 3 or 4 waves, huge waves crashing. And so, of course, I have to, hold my breath and duck dive under. So I do, but I'm coughing this salty salt water out of my nasal cavity, and my eyes are draining, my nose is draining. So I duck dive, and of course, then I cough underwater, and I suck in a huge amount of water underwater. I come up bobbing and gasping, and I'm like, and I've now got salt water everywhere, and another wave is coming and landing on my head now. So now I actually rally, hold my breath, duck dive, get out. I eventually, believe it or not, get out. The Lord sent this reprieve, and I was able to paddle out between waves. Well, I'm still hacking, and I'm thinking, God, this is really heavy and scary. But of course, I'm faced with this idea. I don't want to look like a quitter. You never paddle out into a surf and then turn around and paddle back in. You have to catch a wave in. So, of course, I wait till a wave comes in, a huge one comes in, and I let it pass, because I'm freaked out. But of course, I'm looking good, right? Oh, I'm out here with the pros. Then the second wave comes in. The third wave was the smallest of these sets. I took the smallest wave. I caught it, and I'm like, yeah, and I get a really good ride. But I'm still snarling. I'm still snarfing. And as I'm surfing, the waves kind of jack up. When you're in it, they kind of pull up, and as it gets shallower, the water sucks out from the sand and sucks into the basically a tube. Well, the waves sucked up and revealed a full-blown tree. It was a hurricane, a tree. And I saw the tree trunk emerge and the root system emerge out of this, and I was absolutely terrified. So I dove off my board under what I estimated was under the tree. Now, your board is attached to a leash. So my board went spinning. And I can't tell if I am attached to this tree or not, but I swim as deep as I think I can. But I'm being tumbled by this huge wave, and I'm trying to avoid this tree. And I'm still coughing. I'm still like trying not to cough. So eventually I'm running out of air. I haven't found the tree yet. I'm running out of air, and I think, okay, I should be shallow enough. So I'm starting to run out of air. I'm starting to get dizzy. So I swim towards what I think is the surface. I'm just paddling. I'm paddling. My leash tugs on something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm desperate. I'm paddling. I tear my leash off my ankle because I think it's attached to the tree. And now I'm just swimming. And just as I'm about to run out of air, and just as I think I've got to break the surface, my hands hit sand. I was swimming down, not up. And I ran out of air in that moment. I passed out. I blacked out. You want to think about freaking out? I don't know what happened next, but I woke up gasping for air, leaning on the very board that I thought I lost in the waves. Don't know how I got there. I totally blacked out. And I was being pushed. I was laying on my board, and I was being pushed by waves back by the lapping shore, and came up gasping and hacking up salt water. That was the time I almost drowned, trying to look good instead of do good. So here we go. Let me give you the 4 reasons we make stupid decisions like that one. Here we go. I'll be quick. Number 1, the first reason we make stupid decisions is this. We quit learning, also known as no info. right? You have no information to work from. We quit learning. How many of you quit reading books? I live in books. In fact, if Marissa and I argue about anything on travel, you could if I could say, hey, we argued, you could probably guess it's because I wanted to sit in a cafe somewhere and read a book, and Marissa wanted to go outside and hike. And both of those things are good. I default towards reading. I always need to be learning, but most of us quit learning. So we make stupid decisions. And here's why. What is right today will not necessarily be right tomorrow. The context makes something right or wrong. There's content, but everything is relative to the time it lives in. Lisa Welsh says, trying to impress others and is cry laughing. You can laugh at me all you want, sister. Yes, it's a guy thing. Or no, it's not just a guy thing. It's a people thing. We try to impress people, try to look good instead of do good. So the first lesson is we quit learning, and that means we have no info to work from. And the context in life shifts. COVID shifted things, and it was right. It was always right to do cold calls and knock on doors until COVID happened. We have to keep learning. And a salesperson who used to do cold calling, knocking on doors, when COVID hit, they had to change their system. They needed to continue learning. So whether that was YouTube or reading books, you absolutely need to continue learning. I know we hear this in a lot of context. The context today, you will make stupid decisions because you don't have information. No info, because you're not continuing to learn. I hear that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett read for at least an hour a day. Bob Proctor, someone I respect highly, said he read and studied for 1/4 of his day before the internet, 2 hours a day, when this guy could have just been knocking on doors. And the book I'm reading right now, one of the books, actually, I have these 2 books on my desk. I'm reading these 2 books right now. One is Limitless. The other is Coaching That Counts. I'm reading Limitless because it's teaching me new skills on how to learn. You've got to learn how to learn. My mom says she's freaked out. I drowned. Yes. Yes, Mom. I did drown. Thank you for watching the show. But we quit learning. You got to keep learning. So here's how to counter it. Be a reader every day. There's many ways to do this. You could get Feedly, subscribe to your favorite blogs. It synthesizes all the blogs. You skim them. You highlight the ones you want to read. You pick 2 or 3 blogs and read those blogs in full. I always recommend reading the physical. There are so many studies that point to 3-dimensional learning, meaning when you read from a book, you're reading 3-dimensionally. You're storing those memories 3-dimensionally, and it's a more distraction-free environment than reading your feeds. But if you have to read something or anything, go ahead and read your feeds. Got to read. So that's how you counter it. Number 1, we quit learning. How you counter it is by continuing to be a lifelong learner. Just get used to it. And that also applies to being a leader in an accelerated marketplace. The number 1 skill you will have is the ability to consume data. Brock says the quality of the material makes a huge difference. A lot of business nonfiction is just filler and reframed ideas. Brock, I could not agree more. I completely agree with this. And so here's how you counter that. And you got to read this comment by Brock here. So let me pull it up because I'm speaking to this real quick. The quality of the material makes a huge difference. If you are not a lifelong learner, you will not have a barometer for what is filler. So quantity matters, right? But quality matters more. But you don't have your I call it the bullshit meter. Your bullshit meter will not be dialed in if you are not a consumer of a vast amount of information. So I highly recommend that you become a lifelong learner. I pick up a book that sounds interesting. I'll read the first chapter and I have no problem getting rid of that book. To Brock's point, I have no problem going, oh, I've heard this before, or it's just reframed, or it's wrong. It's just not good advice. And I'll toss it. I have no problem. My library has been full of books I've tossed, and I'll still keep them to remind me that there is a lot of filler. So Brock, yes, thank you so much. I really thank you. That is a value add. Number 2, the second reason we make stupid decisions, we begin with the wrong assumptions. You could if quitting learning means you have no info, beginning with the wrong assumptions means you have the wrong info. Brock says, yeah, you got to be eclectic and be okay with not finishing. Yeah, a lot of people are not okay with not finishing their books. They just have to brag. Oh, I finished this book and it was amazing. And it's like, well, no, not every piece of material needs to be consumed, folks. So the second point is this: we begin with the wrong assumptions, and that means we have the wrong info. So assumptions, which is actually the core problem, that we have the right information will knock you off your horse quick. So I can't tell you how many smart people I know have core assumptions that they're not necessarily checking. Now, there's several ways to check this, and I'll tell you how to counter it in a second. But I want to call this out that assumptions will kill you. So if we quit learning, you become a reader every day, and just like the bullshit meter we talked about with Brock here a second ago, you got to dial in your bullshit meter. You've got to check your assumptions because the context is shifting. The accelerated world we live in, you cannot necessarily hang your hat on an opinion that was accurate yesterday. You might find out new information that changes your opinion. How many times in the political sphere, how many times were you like, I love this politician, and then something came out and you're like, I can't believe I said that out loud. You might still like the politician, but you were so firm about your opinion until that new data came out. And that new data did affect your opinion. It also affected how you were viewed in front of people. Our assumptions work the same way. Assumptions are good. Assumptions help us not rethink everything every single day, right? Like we have to believe that gravity is going to work today. I assume gravity is going to work. So when I get out of bed, I don't panically grab the door frame and say, okay. No, I have to make assumptions just to get through the day because there's billions of bits of data, trillions, quadrillions of bits of data that I can't make a decision on all of it. I've got to make some assumptions. But when it comes to decision making, you're in a conscious moment where you're bringing to bear all of your experience, all of your knowledge, and focusing on something that you believe is important to your family, your business, your life, your health. So in those moments, it's important to check your assumptions. So how do you counter making the wrong assumptions or operating on what I call the wrong info? How you counter is this. Your default assumption should be that you need to check your assumptions. Brilliance? Genius is so basic, right? You're allowed to say you're a genius, Grant. Thank you. Your first assumption should be that you always check your assumptions, especially if it's important. When you have your advisors talking at you, when you're reading your book and you have an opinion that's strong, you shouldn't wrap your identity around it like a cloak. You should go, that's the trigger on when I should assume whether or not I actually believe this thing anymore. When you have a strong opinion, thus and so politician is the best ever. That should not be great. I've got a firm foundation and now I've got something to stand on. No, that should be when humility kicks in and you go, why do I believe that? And why does it matter? You need to check your assumptions. That's how you counter beginning with the wrong assumptions. So, why people make stupid decisions, number 3, and this is what drove me into the ocean on my day when I almost drowned. We want to look good instead of do good. This is what I call avoiding the info or ignoring the info. So I wanted to look good. I didn't want to look stupid. I wasn't peacocking. There wasn't hot chicks floating around that I wanted to look good in front of. There was people around me. I didn't want to look stupid. So I didn't necessarily want to look good for people, but I didn't want to look like a quitter. And more importantly, to myself, I wanted to look good. Looking good isn't always a public thing. Sometimes looking good is a private thing. Sometimes it's just what you think looks good to yourself. So for me, pride said, no, I want to be an adventurer. Now, I don't disagree with that. I do want to be an adventurer. I do want to say yes to adventure. I do want to say yes to things, but I knew that it was a stupid decision. It turned out I've got a great story. In fact, I'm using that story here. So, hey, it's working for me. We want to do good. We want to look good instead of do good, ignoring the info. So that's a little burn for some of you guys. Some of you guys know that you want to look like, in my case, I want to look like I know what's going on with tech. Now, that also happens to be true. I don't just want to put on airs. I actually want to be involved with this. And I'm trying to put in the work. But I also like being that person if I were to be honest. Confession time. Use the comments for your confessions, my friends. What do you know? You don't always make wise decisions around a topic because you want to look like someone who knows X in that topic. Confess your sins, my friends. Confess your sins. I'm looking at several names in this comment feed right now, and I know I'm not going to call them out. Some of them are political. Some of you are, what do they call it? Blowing the virtue dog whistle. Some of you blow the virtue dog whistle as it comes to politics. Some of you don't. Some of you want to look good, like being, oh shucks, I'm just a so and so type of approachable business leader. I see you there. I see you guys. Use the comments and confess your sins if you care, if you dare, on how you try to look good instead of do good, and how ignoring the info sometimes can lead to stupid decisions. Come on now, preach. That'll preach. I'm reading a book right now called Who, Not What. Brock says, I should probably be slightly more concerned with looking good. Kind of don't give a shit about it. Maybe. And is that a form of looking good? I don't know. Everything could be said about that, right? Like you could say that about anything. Here we go. Here's how to counter looking good instead of doing good. Here's how you do it. Have a truth teller in your life. Now, you should have a lot of advisors, coaches, trainers, spouses, but there should be someone in your life who, in your mind, it doesn't have to be official. You don't have to have a sacred handshake. In your mind, they are your designated truth teller. They will not give you bullshit. They'll not blow you up. They'll pull you aside. And lovingly, they're not going to blow you up, but they'll pull you aside and say, hey, I know you said this, but I think it's this. They don't have to publicly embarrass you. They don't have to be Gary Vee and get in your face and tell you what's going on. They can do it compassionately, but you need to counter this habit we have of, I want to look good, so I'm going to make a stupid decision. I'm just going to ignore the information because I don't want to look bad. You need a truth teller. I'm reading this book by Peter Diamandis' coach, and the book is called Who, Not What. And the idea is you need to quit asking what or why. Why? Why is that? Marissa wants to learn how to do apps. She's going to build an app in the month of November. That's like she's kind of geeking out about an applicable skill that she could use at any point in her life that could, it's kind of building on her web design skills. So she wants to learn this. And the truth is she's just going to Google. She's going to check out the app company. They have a bunch of tutorials, and then she's going to get on YouTube. She doesn't need, it's not brain science to figure out how to do something or to figure out what to do next. You know, it's tough figuring out who should be her advisor in that thing. The who component is becoming harder every day. We very rarely, usually when we're faced with a problem, like, oh, what should I do? And, you know, all the gurus are like, don't, focus on your why first. And your why is like, why am I doing this in the first place? And that will suddenly bring insight. Well, it brings motivation. It doesn't always bring insight. And then another abundance group says, don't ask what we should do, ask how we should do it. And that gets teams going. And that's true. It does get teams going. Like, how should we tackle this? And it adds a more positive, constructive spin. But a skill you probably need is to ask the question, who will solve this for me? When we are subject to the stupidity principle of looking good instead of doing good, we're subject to being a people pleaser that way, you need a truth teller in your life. So the question to ask is, who will speak truth? Brock says, yeah, that's how it comes out for me, trying to be right or a rebel, but it usually doesn't make me look good to most people. That's true, bro. And Brock says, Marissa, you should check out bubble.io. Funny you should say that, Brock. That is the exact platform that she's looking at. They have great tutorials. They even have great templates for building apps. She's looking at it and she's trying to inform herself of how do these things live and breathe. And we know that there's more infrastructure like servers and maintenance and all that stuff, but she's actually checking out to see how data moves and how to make it interactive. Marissa says, bing, that's what she's working on. Fourth principle, number 4, and then I'll let you guys have a great weekend and a great day. Number 4, we deploy the wrong mental tools and therefore make stupid decisions. I call this mixing up the info. So quitting learning means no info. Beginning with the wrong assumptions is like just the wrong info. Wanting to look good instead of doing good is like ignoring the info. And deploying the wrong mental tools is mixing up the info. You're using the wrong mental models, my friends. So how do you counter using the wrong mental models? Number 1, get a full night's rest, my friends. Learn how to focus. Read Limitless. It's got learning how to learn. It helps you to focus. Practice meditation. Practicing meditation garners more mental bandwidth. It pulls more mental bandwidth. When you feel strained, practicing meditation helps you practice how to pause, breathe, and garner more mental bandwidth. And then from that state, practice engaging difficult encounters so that you think clearly. We've covered a lot of mental models in Fun with Thinking Friday. There's a lot of mental tools. Go back in the history and watch. I won't cover them all here. There's a lot out there of mental tools. But if you're trying to solve a problem and you apply the mental model of entropy, it's like, is that even helpful? I don't know. Like, you have to spend time, and you can spend time challenging your assumptions. That was rule number 2, challenge your assumptions, right? You can challenge your assumptions on what you're assuming and spend time deciding which is the right mental model to apply here. So you need to pause. If you're strained and tired, Grant said on Friday that I make stupid decisions, so I'm just going to apply these 4 principles. That might not apply to the situation. You got to take all of these in stride, but pausing, breathing, being centered, being present helps you pick a better mental model or the right mental model to engage apples for apples, right? You don't want to apply apples to oranges. You don't need an orange peel for an apple, right? Well, I guess you could use that. That's a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. You need to have the right mental model for the right problem at the right time. So again, that's we quit learning, which means you have no info. We begin with the wrong assumptions, which means you have the wrong info. We want to look instead of do good, which means you're ignoring the info. Or we deploy the wrong mental tools, which means you're mixing up the info. I hope these 4 little tidbits have been helpful to you on why we make stupid decisions. I know I've made stupid decisions. I hope you have a phenomenal Friday. I hope you have an enlightened, uplifted, sparked Friday and sparked weekend. And remember, if you need support, visit us at stateofthespark.com. Be sure to check out our Facebook page, because this show is moving to the Facebook page. So check that out. And just know this. I love you guys. I think you're doing great. I love the feedback. I love the support. I love the appreciation. I love to hope and think that most of you are out there trying to ignite others' lives of explosive significance. But remember, you've got to start with your own. Have a great day. Be enlightened. Be well. Remember to spark your vision and spark people today. Enjoy yourselves. Take care.